right.
True Detective Season 2 is the second part in the anthology series that is True Detective. Now, those who have seen my review of Season 1 know that I absolutely love True Detective Season 1. I think it is one of the best TV show miniseries type thing ever made. I think it's a brilliant detective story. I don't have a single problem with that, and I gave it my highest score of an A+. And a lot of people have been saying that True Detective Season 2, although it came out ages ago, I'm just reviewing it now because I just watched it, a lot of people have been saying to me that this is nowhere near as good as, Season 1, it's very disappointing, it's not that great, and a lot of people that I know in fact who watched and love Season 1 actually haven't seen Season 2 simply because of the amount of people who have told them that it isn't good. And I'm here to tell you that although there is an obvious drop of quality in Season 2, it is still an incredibly enjoying and just fun show. Starting off with the intro for this show, I mean, this is one of my personal favourite intros. The song is done by Leonard Cohen, rest in peace. I actually love this intro, it's just brilliant. And I just think that the technical aspects on a whole, with the exception of the editing, is actually pretty well done. There are many scenes and shots throughout the show that look absolutely beautiful, and the score is really well executed. I really like the score. I think it's very reminiscent of Johan Johansson's score for Sicario. If you've seen the show, then you know what I mean. But I think the best thing about this show by far is the performances and the characters. Now, there are 4 characters as opposed to the 2 that we had in Season 1. And I do think that kind of hurts the show a bit because we spend less time with the characters. And unlike Season 1, where McConaughey and Woody Harrelson were always in the car and talking, and we kind of got to see their lives outside of the detective story, with this, it's kind of less. Colin Farrell and Rachel McAdams, they give Oscar-worthy performances. Colin Farrell, this is the first time I've seen a show or just anything with Colin Farrell in it, where I didn't see Colin Farrell. He lost himself in this role. He was so good as sort of the main character, I guess. Rachel McAdams is also absolutely great, giving one of the better performances in her career. Vince Vaughn, my god. I talked earlier in the year about how Vince Vaughn really impressed me in Hacksaw Ridge, but in this show, in True Detective Season 2, Vince Vaughn shows me a side to him that I just never expected to have seen. Vince Vaughn is absolutely brilliant in this show. He's just so good, and his character is so badass. He gets some really badass moments. But unfortunately, I didn't really care about the character that much. Although that I said he does have some really badass scenes, I just didn't feel like his character meshed into the story very well. Taylor Kitsch, who isn't really known to be the best actor in the world, is very good in this show. I thought he was, he sold his character pretty well. Although I didn't feel like his character was really likable until the show literally forces you to root for his character. And you'll see what I mean if you watch the show. But I think that the problem with the characters in the show in general is that there's such a lack of focus and clarity. Now, one of the best things about Season 1 was the fact that it was just so straightforward and so simple. And because of that, they could perfect everything in that show. Whereas this one, there's more characters, the story's a lot more complicated. I mean, it does start off straightforward, but as the show goes along, it kind of meanders a bit. It gets really, really complex in an unnecessary way. And it got to a point where it was just confusing. I mean, Vince Vaughn and Taylor Kitsch's characters, I didn't even know their names until episode 3. And then I didn't even know what Vince Vaughn was actually doing. I knew he was kind of like a gangster, but I didn't know what he was actually doing in the show until episode 3 again. And so there's definitely an apparent lack of clarity to the show. And unlike Season 1, which was directed by Kari Fukuhara, he directed all 8 episodes. This is directed by a ton of different directors. Justin Lin, of Fast and Furious fame, did the first 2 episodes. We then had Miguel Sapochnik, who directed a couple of episodes of Game of Thrones and Iron Fist. He directed 1 or 2 episodes, I think. So the show felt very tonally different. And because I see True Detective as an 8-hour movie, I don't like the idea of watching an 8-hour movie by 6, 7 different directors. It doesn't mesh together, it doesn't come together well. Now I want to talk about Nick Pizzolatto's writing, the creator of the show. His script for Season 1 was brilliant, like I said, very straightforward. But with this one, again, it feels very complex, but I think the story is actually really good. I like how he brings all the characters together, and this show had some really standout moments. I mean, there was definitely certain moments that I remember from the show, but I just think that the ending just didn't work. I did not enjoy the ending. I mean, I love the ending of season 1. I think that was the perfect way to finish off that show, but the ending for season 2 did not work for me. I despised the ending, I really did. But after all that, I do still think that True Detective season 2 is very good. Nowhere near as good as season 1, obviously. But you know, although it does have flaws in that, and it's still a pretty enjoyable show as a whole. I'm going to give True Detective season 2 a B+. Guys, thank you very much for watching. As always, thank you.